I've been asked on a couple of occasions how you might find like-minded people to form part of a mutual assistance group in the event of an SHTF. In this video, I'm going to talk about one particular option. Hi, this is Everyday Prepper and welcome to the channel. A lot of prepping channels talk about different strategies when getting started prepping and when you're building up your supplies and skills. And one of those assets or skills that you would build up would potentially be what they call a MAG, or a mutual assistance group, which is basically a group of people that you know, who you trust and who are like-minded and are also probably considering themselves as preppers or survivalists, and that you could turn to each other and help rebuild and support each other in the event of a major emergency or catastrophe, or what we know as an SHTF situation. Now, that's often talked about as one option. Another option would be the lone wolf style, which is how I started out, really, because I just thought, I don't have a great deal of friends that I wanted to really particularly talk about prepping with. There just weren't those kind of friends. A lot of them were drinking friends, and now I've not been drinking for, coming up will be my 6th year this year. I no longer have those kind of interests, so a lot of those friends have fallen by the wayside. We're still friendly, but they know nothing about what I do in regards to survivalism or prepping. So how do you come across people who do the same thing? Well, it's not like you just walk up to people in the street and you start blurting out, give it a try by all means, but you start blurting out that you're a prepper or survivalist. The majority of people are going to look on you as some kind of far right-wing nutter with extreme political ideals and not someone they want to be around. So you're going to alienate people fairly quickly. So let's get to the point. What I actually found was, when I was going through a lot of prepping channels, including bushcraft, survival skills, amateur radio, a lot of the videos about emergency planning for an absolute catastrophe was comms. Grid down. What are you going to do? Comms. The mobile networks go down, the internet goes down. What are you going to do? Off-grid comms. And it kept leading me to one thing: off-grid comms. Now, I've got some walkie-talkies and they're good fun. Great for walking around the supermarket with the kids, great for camping, maybe from hilltop to hilltop. They'll get some distance, you get a couple of miles on them, but the way you're going to get reach over several miles is either using CB radio, which no one really uses anymore. Well, they do, but not as much, or amateur radio, or ham radio as it's known, and that's using VHF and UHF. Now, walkie-talkies use UHF anyway, which is why they're really good around buildings, because they have a smaller wavelength and they can penetrate around walls and things like that. VHF is on a 2-meter wavelength, which is slightly bigger, but it does carry over longer distances. But to broadcast or to transmit on VHF in the UK, you need an amateur radio license. Now, I have had some people come back to me, and you'll always get this, people coming back, during SHTF and WROL, without rule of law, who's going to give a damn about a license? I don't care, I'm just going to get the radios and all this sort of thing. Well, that's all well and good. So exactly what is your plan there? Are you going to not know anything about them, and then you're going to buy a radio, keep it stocked, and then you're going to use it during SHTF and not have a clue about how to use it? Or are you going to get your amateur radio license, get all the equipment, learn everything you can about it, so that during SHTF you know exactly what you're doing? Now, which would make sense? So I figured the latter would make sense. So I got myself my foundation license. It's really easy now. Since all the lockdowns and everything, they've done everything online, which is great for me, because it's just so much easier than travelling up to your nearest examination hall. And you'll get an online invigilator assigned to you to invigilate. And I found the invigilator to be immensely helpful in talking you through the exam conditions and everything else. And it's not hard. Anyone who's just interested in radios will be able to pass the exam. So that's the first thing I'd recommend, is get yourself licensed. So what I've then found was, living on the coast, quite often we get park runs, and we also get longer runs like marathons, half marathons. And I had noticed that quite often on these bigger runs, there were another group of people around, not just the marshals, but other groups that had these big antenna set up and were doing all sorts of comms to do with the race, emergency comms. I then found out that there are organisations within the ham radio community that do this kind of stuff, and I thought, well, that sounds a bit of fun, and also it sounds like I could probably learn a lot from them. So I looked into it some more. Now, the organisation that I now belong to is called RAYNET. So it stands for the Radio Amateurs Emergency Network, and what they do is they provide communications for on a volunteer basis for various runs and various events around the country, and you can look up and see whether you've got someone, a RAYNET group local to you. They also get involved with a whole lot of other contingency planning measures and training, and they're involved with police and councils who they liaise with as part of contingency planning for a national emergency or catastrophe. So that's all I'll say on that point. But something I'd really, really strongly recommend is get into, off-grid comms into radios. I've just come off of an exercise where we had a horse. Not a horse race, a horse trials where they go out cross country, and I was helping provide comms for that. So it means you can get to spend a lot of the time outdoors. We get to play radio. I was only using a slightly upgraded version of this. This is just a Bofeng. I was using a slightly more powerful one with a similar antenna, like a rubber ducky antenna, and we also had some other comms equipment with us as well, which is all provided by the organisation. And before I go back to my original point, the other great thing is this gets you outdoors. It's almost like having a military exercise. It started raining, so I put up my tarp, just strung it across the car. People commenting as they're going past, saying, "Oh, look how organised he is," and all this. It's just a tarp, but it's probably more than the average person will have in the boot of their car. A few bungees and a tarp. It's quite simple. So for me, it's all part of the fun. You get to innovate on the fly, enjoy the great outdoors, experience all kind of weather conditions whilst playing radio and getting involved with all the comms and helping out with the event. So going back to the original point of finding like-minded people, what I also found was that, of course, people who are preparing for contingency planning for major UK catastrophe and also are some are real experts in off-grid comms over radio, you're going to find that pretty much there are not necessarily call themselves preppers, but they're preppers. They've got food storage, they've got water storage, they've got solar backup. They've got pretty much everything that I've built up over the years as a backup. And these are people I would trust. These people I communicate on a regular basis with, and we have radio conversations every week as well. And I've learned a ton of stuff. We've got ex-police, we've got current police who can give advice and have given advice on what you might want to keep in your car, what you might want to keep at home as a backup. A whole lot of in-depth stuff that you won't necessarily get online. You've also got local amateur radio groups, which is not necessarily RAYNET, but who might meet up on a weekly basis. I went to a couple of those, and I did find some people that I probably wouldn't have connected with. So I'm not really involved with those groups anymore. I'm more involved with groups now that we talk regularly with on the radio, and also when we're volunteering for events. And I would say that every single event you learn something new about how you might adapt to the weather. You learn something new about how certain radio signals will work or not work in certain conditions. Really handy stuff. So yeah, didn't want to make it a long video, just kind of an update really on what I've recommended before. I think in most videos I talk about off-grid comms being, radio, you get your amateur radio license. It's something I'd absolutely recommend. You'll learn a hell of a lot. You'll also learn a lot about being off-grid and what you can do, in the event of internet going down. A lot of the people that I work with as part of this organisation, they all have sort of backup for their routers. They have backup for their, if the mobiles was to go down, if the internet was to go down, if the grid was to go down, they have all sorts of backup. And we discuss that regularly as well. So you'll learn things, you'll learn things about in-depth solar power setup and, all kinds of emergency plans. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting. If you did and you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. A lot of my videos are about exactly this kind of thing, preparing basically for major emergencies in the UK. Or certainly from a UK perspective. And if you do subscribe and you haven't already, then please get involved with the comments as well. There's a wealth of information among the existing subscribers, and no question is silly. Feel free to ask any questions. Somebody will answer it if I don't know the answer, and I always try and get back to you. I can't answer all comments because we do get quite a lot, but I'll always try and I'll certainly read every comment, and I'll always try and get back to you if I can. Sometimes it might just take a bit of time. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this chat, and thanks again for watching, and stay prepared.